I'm going to have to text you.
Well, hello, hello. Hi, Dr. Tiff. How are you?
I am great. Wait a minute. You are not Jim.
No, I am not.
Now, of course, I knew Jim wasn't going to be here, but for some of you all, this probably is a little strange. But that's what's so awesome about us when we have people that we work with. We can just have people fill in, and we're so blessed to have you today, Kristen. So excited you're here.
Thank you so much. I am so glad to be here. It actually is quite a privilege to be filling in. And so I figure we will start it off with giving a little bit about myself. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Kristen. I actually come to you from Rhode Island, which is on the East Coast. And a little bit about my story and my background is that I actually have been following the Feel Great system now for it's almost 2 years. And for those of you that have heard Jim's story where he has reversed his type 2, I am in that same category. I have reversed my type 2. I have come off of all diabetic medications, 4 pills, a shot, high blood pressure pills, cholesterol medications. I have more energy. I have no inflammation. I have no brain fog. I've actually I feel better now at 53 than I did at 30. And so the system has just completely changed the trajectory of my own course of life. And so it's just amazing. It's something that I never thought could ever be possible. I never thought that, people would always say, oh no, you can't possibly reverse type 2. And it's funny because when I had mentioned it to my doctor after he took me off of that last medication, which was the shot, I said, so does this mean that I reversed my type 2? He's like, well, I'd like to use the word remission. And I was like, okay, well, why? And he said, well, ultimately, because if you go back to your old habits, you're going to end up in the same boat. And I thought, oh, okay, so that's wonderful because I've been meeting with your nutritionist. I've been taking all the meds you've been giving me, but all along you just had to tell me that I just needed to change the way I was eating. Habits, stop eating so much because ultimately you were having me eat every couple of hours instead of fasting. So, it's funny how that kind of came full circle on him. I don't think he expected me to ask him that question. But yeah. For those of you that are here, welcome in. We're so glad that you're here with us tonight. If you are joining us and friends have invited you, we're glad you're here. We are going to be talking to a couple of people that have had some amazing success following a protocol that we have followed, Dr. Tiff has followed, and we are so excited to share the news with you. So I know that I know here on the East Coast, it's a little muggy tonight, so hunker down, get in your AC, and just listen for a little while and hear about the news of how people's lives are literally being changed day in and day out.
Yes.
Dr. Tiff, it's all you now.
Yeah. See? Okay, so Kristen said, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to let y'all know who I am. So I'm just not a fill-in. Yeah, I'm a co-host. I'm a star. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Plus, I love her story. So I am literally a doctor who got tired of just prescribing medications, meaning I want to see people improve their health and not have to be on a prescription. So considering the fact that all these conditions that are trying to take us out are lifestyle related conditions, when we deal with the lifestyle, we can reverse them. And I say reverse as a medical doctor because I'm believing you're going to keep up the lifestyle changes. Either that or you're going to keep using tools. So either way, it's gone. So that's how I think. So anyhow, I was able to, one, reverse my blood pressure, get off of my blood pressure medicine, help my brother get out of the ICU and get off of his insulin. He's a type 2 diabetic who was in there near about trying to have a coma, get off his Trulicity, his metformin, help my mom with her multiple sclerosis, be able to not drag her leg as much to where she was afraid to wear her heels to church. And if y'all know people going to church, y'all know we like our heels. And so she was able to do that and also play pickleball at 73. And that's just 3 people. Now, me and Kristen, I mean, there's so many people, hundreds. And if you add Jim in there, even thousands. We've been able to help so many people reverse these conditions. and enjoy their lives. And so I'm here after getting board certified in family and lifestyle medicine. And then I decided I wanted to be a metabolic health coach too, to help my people even more. And so I studied under Dr. Ben Bickman with Insulin IQ, and I was able to get so much more information. And so with that, I decided I wanted to tell the whole world. And so here I am doing a Facebook Live that streams to YouTube, that streams to TikTok, that streams to D Live, and all these channels I don't even know about that Jim links us to. And we're able to tell so many people, and I'm excited to be here. And y'all just wait till our guests come out. Now, if you have not tagged people, start tagging people you know can benefit from what we're talking about. Put that @ before their name because they need to hear this. They need to hear this. Okay. Well, all I need is the platform to talk. I'll keep talking. Okay, good.
Good. Okay, she's back. I jumped in because I couldn't hear you. I wanted to make sure we were still keeping it going. All right, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was good. So okay. I think we're ready for our first guest, Kristen. You're going to set us up?
So I want to introduce Kendra. Kendra is actually part of our team, Jim's team as well. And Kendra has an amazing story. And so you will be inspired. So Kendra, take it away.
Well, thank you for the invite. First of all, I appreciate that. So I watched Jim back in, I'm going to say like January to April, off and on. And I heard his story and I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. You can't really reverse all this stuff and whatever. So I just kind of thought, okay, fine. So I kept watching all the people in his team thinking that, okay, maybe there is something to this, but I'm really not sure. Well, then finally, there was like, I don't know, it was like a day in April. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm done, right? So I get emotional. So I went to bed one night and I'm like praying, going, oh my God, just something. Well, I wake up the next day, get on TikTok, and there's Jim. I'm like, whoa, you just answered me, right? So here I am. I listened to him for like probably 2 hours. I'm at work right now. I listened to him for probably about 2 hours. And I asked him like 500,000 questions. And he's probably going, oh my God, will you stop, right? But no, he answered every one. I thought, okay. Well, then, shortly after that, I had to leave to go to work because I work 2 to 10. And I'm like, all right, wait a minute. What do I have to lose? Let's just try this because I'm done. I'm just simply done. So I ended up booking a phone call with him for 2 days later. Talked to him for 2 hours on the phone before I went to work 2 days later, and came home that night and ordered. And I was like, okay. But then I thought, well, if this really works, and if he's saying this does what it does, I am definitely going to probably have to promote it as a customer because we do get a customer referral bonus. And I thought, well, why not? So I came home that night, I ordered it, and that was in the middle to end of April. And then on May 16th, I had my very first doctor appointment. And I went in there, got my blood work done. And of course, I had my tea sitting in my car ready to go, my Unimate tea ready to go. As soon as I walked out of there, I was starting. There was no more waiting. In the meantime of all of that, I started May 16th. And are you ready for these results?
Yes.
Reversed my type 2 in 9 months. Depression, anxiety, and ADHD, very minimal. IBS was gone in 3 days that I dealt with for 10 years. Within, I'm going to say in August, I want to say it was about 4 months. I started in May, and by August, by August of 2024, my vertigo went away, and I dealt with that since 2013. I sleep 7 hours rather than waking up every couple hours. no more hot flashes, ladies. I love it. I had this discoloration on my knees that I noticed cleared up in like 2 to 3 months. I went to the dentist and they wanted to do that procedure where they cover your receding gum lines. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to wait on that. I'm not ready for that. And my teeth used to bleed when I would floss. And as I started taking these products, I noticed that, you know what? My teeth don't bleed anymore and my receding gum lines are no longer sensitive.
Wow.
I lost 2 clothing sizes in 3 months and I'm constantly losing inches every month. I'm losing more and more. I had 3 cysts on the top of my head that I was just ready to call my doctor to go get them removed surgically. And in 3 to 4 months, those were gone. Wow. And I had a skin tag that fell off. Inflammation was gone. And I drive a forklift in a warehouse. And I had a heck of a time getting off and on my forklift because I was so sore. I had no energy. And within about probably 2 weeks, the inflammation was gone. Prior to this, I couldn't even read my screen on my laptop, on my forklift or at home or my cell phone. So I was wearing glasses. And after 4.5 months of being on the system, as you can see, I don't even have them on anymore.
Wow. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yes, yes. That's awesome. I love it. I love how she was ready with the list. Did you see that, Kristen? She came ready.
Absolutely love it. It was like bullet points all the way down. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank
Kendra,
you.
that's just amazing. And it's so inspirational because, again, you were kind of like in that hopeless place.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is a lot of us come to that hopeless place, and we think that the only answer is actually what we've only known.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like you said, you asked God, like God almost like opens up the heavens and says, no, this is the last answer. This is the final, this is the final destination for you. I'm going to offer you this so that you can be better. And it's just amazing. So I'm so happy for you, Kendra.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
So happy you came on. And you know what else that I loved about what you said was you said you want to hear my results after 9 months. Because realistically, too many people get up and they're like, tomorrow I want these problems to fix. That's not life. And so I love it. Realistic results. Thank you so much, Kendra.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I want to say one thing too is you mentioned, you're losing inches. Yep. I love that you brought that up because so many people focus on just the numbers on the scale.
Right.
And it has not like the numbers on the scale, unfortunately, deceive us.
Yes.
It only gives a small piece of the puzzle. But when you talk about inches, you could only lose 5 pounds, but lose, tons of inches. And
exactly.
Still, you said you dropped 2 clothing sizes. Like that's incredible. But people need to change the mindset that only the scale determines their success.
I threw my scale in the garbage.
Woohoo! I suggest more people do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Of course, that's Dr. G.
I don't know if you see this, but Dr. G is saying that she loves that your dental health improved.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's a dentist for those that don't know.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Aw.
So, yes, this is great. I love it. Well, I appreciate you, Kendra.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys allowing me to come on here. That's so sweet of you.
And so what we'll do is we'll get you to come back in at the end and be able to give your parting words and even answer some questions. Would you be willing to do that if you can?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Uh-oh. Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
All right. So is Sherry good?
No, I don't know. But you know what we do next is we go into the science. So I'm actually going to do the science before my next guest come on. And she's a teen and, we're trying to give her some time to get some things together, but she has a story that we want to hear. So let me share my screen and get going on the science here. The whole problem, the reason why that we are even here. What are we talking about? Now you should be able to see my screen. Can't you, Kristen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. So the problem, we're talking about metabolic health, and 93% of Americans are actually struggling with their health. Only 7% are not. And I like to call those people the 7%ers. But so many people are struggling and don't even realize it. And one of the main medications we use to prescribe to decrease this risk only really decreases your cardiovascular risk by 1%. And it's the number one prescribed drug. They're statins. But if you improve your lifestyle, we have studies that show that that can actually decrease cardiovascular risk by up to 39%. That is huge, right?
Right.
And so, as a physician who decided I wanted to save the world when I walked across that stage 20 years ago, I found myself, like many other physicians, prescribing my patients a bunch of medications, band-aids for each of those issues that we're going to go over. And they look like this lady here, like when they go to the doctor, they have a whole bag of meds like they're going on a weekend getaway, okay? But I have come to learn that if we get to the root cause of the conditions, we don't have to have all those band-aids. And the root cause is really our lifestyle. And so I know a lot of people that are like, oh, these are my genes. My auntie had this. My auntie lost her foot. My uncle had a heart attack. My father had type 2 diabetes. I'm just going to have it. And I'm going to be on these meds forever. That is a lie. I'm here to tell you it's a lie. So I think of genetics as a land we are given, meaning, it's like an inheritance. So you can till that land greatly and yield some great crops, or you can till that land and do horribleness to it and have some barren crops, okay? It's really in our control. I like to say this so we take the power back and don't feel victims to these conditions. The big issue here is that one of the big issues around cardiometabolic health is heart disease, and it's still the number one killer, people. This has been like this for decades. So apparently, things we've been teaching, things we've been doing, our environment, there's so many things going on to make this worse that we've got to find different ways to address it. And so when we're talking about cardiometabolic health, insulin resistance is at the center of that. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, fatty liver, all those things are either directly linked or indirectly linked. Migraines, arthritis, autoimmune conditions aren't on here. Dyslipidemia, neuropathy, okay, low testosterone. And the problem with insulin resistance is it can start happening 10 to 20 years before you actually start getting those conditions. So you need to know the symptoms. So you need to understand what you're looking at. So if you are having a lot of cravings for sugar and salty, difficulty losing weight, especially around your midsection, constantly hungry, having the skin tags. I mean, what Kendra said is when her skin tags just fell off. It's amazing how when you deal with insulin resistance, deal with the root, these things start to improve. Those dark patches on your neck, psoriasis, which is an autoimmune skin condition, irregular cycles, high blood pressure. I mean, and there's so many things that you just don't even realize how much insulin resistance infiltrates all these conditions we think have the control. So what is insulin resistance? And if I said this to the chat, I know most of you, when I say this and I say insulin, you probably think of diabetes. Lots of people do, but we're going to go into all the conditions that are actually linked to insulin resistance. And, if we back this down and talk about insulin, we want to look at the macronutrients. We want to look at carbs, fat, and protein. So carbs break down into a lot of glucose. And so why does that matter? Because your pancreas, when there's glucose, your pancreas releases insulin to get that glucose into the cells to use it for energy. Okay, so your carbohydrates make your pancreas have to release a lot of energy, make your pancreas work. Your protein breaks down into a little bit of glucose, a little bit, so it makes your pancreas have to work a little. Your healthy fat, not so much. So if we look at this little graphic here to try to illustrate what can happen to us in a normal day, considering most of us were told you got to eat every couple of hours, and we were told, oh, you got to eat 6 to 11 servings of carbohydrates. Even though nobody pushes that today as much, it's still sitting in the back of our mind. And about 3/4 of the foods that people all over the world are eating are still carbohydrates. We still eat a lot of them. So if you wake up in the morning and you have your breakfast and it's waffles, pancakes, cereal, oatmeal, all those things are carbohydrate rich. And so your insulin is going to be the lowest when you first wake up because you've been fasting all night. Okay, you've been fasting for 12 hours if you went to bed at 8 and wake up at 8, right? So your sugar is going to shoot up with that carbohydrate rich meal, and it's going to make your pancreas release a good amount of insulin. And then after about 2 hours, because you had to shoot up all that insulin and bring down your sugars quickly, now you're having a drop, you're having a low, you're getting tired, so you think you need a snack. You may grab a juice, you may grab something out the vending machine, and we know there's nothing great for us in the vending machine, and it's going to be full of carbohydrates, and it's going to kick up your carbohydrates, your glucose, thus your insulin. Then you go on to lunch, and you may grab a wrap, a sandwich, a slice of pizza, and that's going to kick up your glucose as well. That insulin's going to go up. And then you have the snack, okay? And then a dinner. And then if you have dessert, the point is your cells are going to be constantly bathed in this insulin. And so over time, your cells become desensitized. They stop listening to that insulin. And so that glucose sits in the bloodstream and that excess insulin sits there too, causing more trouble. Your insulin is sitting out here like this little black figurine trying to push the glucose into the liver, muscle, and fat cells. And it has a no-win battle when you start having resistance. And so when that insulin is high, it starts to cause havoc on other things, not just your diabetes. Everybody figures that out. They think, oh, insulin resistance, that's just diabetes. I'm cool. I don't have problems with my sugar. Well, no. Blood pressure is related to insulin resistance. So when there's high insulin, you know what that tells the kidneys to do? That tells them to release aldosterone. That's a hormone that holds on to sodium. And if you remember chemistry class, when you hold on to sodium, water follows. So that's going to increase blood volume. That's going to kick up your blood pressure. Then because insulin can act like a growth hormone, like we see with skin tags and those dark patches on your neck, it can overgrow the lining of the vessel. That's going to make that vessel, the inside, a lot smaller. That's going to increase the pressure. Then you have problems with nitric oxide because insulin is too high. And now, since nitric oxide is supposed to dilate the blood vessel to help when the blood volume gets too high, it can't do that. So that blood vessel is not flexible. It's stiff. It doesn't dilate, increases the pressure. And then this bothers your lipids too. So when your insulin is too high, it actually makes your body make more triglycerides. Then it turns around and decreases your HDL, which we need. That actually has a protective benefit over our heart. And then it increases the LDL, those small, dense particles that actually get in those cracks in those blood vessels. It gets there, it causes trouble, it makes the lining of those vessels thicker, and it makes the inside of those vessels smaller until it closes it off. And that would give you heart disease, strokes, right? Heart attacks. Then it messes with our hormones. For us ladies, it messes with us with PCOS. You end up getting more testosterone, causing the facial hair, causing the acne. I mean, I had adult acne in my late 30s. And I was like, what is this about? I didn't have this when I was a teen. That was not okay. But that's what happens. And then what turns around happens, you have irregular menstrual cycles and then infertility. PCOS is the leading cause of anovulatory due to you not dropping enough eggs, infertility. And so many women struggle with this. But the great thing is when we start dealing with the insulin resistance, we have women having children again when they were told they wouldn't have them at all. That's the fun part of doing what we do. And then also, it also lowers your estrogen. So there it goes, messing with us in menopause, perimenopause. It makes those symptoms worse. It may not cause it directly, but a lot of those symptoms overlap. The difficulty with the weight gain, the fluid retention, the brain fog, all those things start to sound like perimenopause and menopause. Hot flashes. Kendra said her hot flashes went away. Mine did too. Yep. When we actually improve insulin resistance, we even help some of those perimenopausal, menopausal symptoms. It may not be all of it, but because those symptoms overlap, we start to feel a good deal better. Most of the time, people are being misdiagnosed because they aren't looking for insulin resistance. So they immediately chalk it up to perimenopause or menopause. That's a whole nother conversation. And then I love the menopause. And so, no, this isn't a real term, but the point is insulin resistance messes up that whole production of testosterone and actually makes you have more estrogen. It messes with aromatase. And so that leads to the man boobs along with the fat storage. It leads to the erectile dysfunction as well as we talked about the blood vessel issues with insulin resistance, right? Messes with the erectile dysfunction too. And then the low testosterone. Okay. And so this is a whole quality of life issue. And trust me, when we start fixing these things, we have happier people, happier men and women. Then let's talk about the brain, that whole brain fog thing, that whole walking into the room, not knowing where your keys are, and walking out a building, not knowing where you parked your car. By having that insulin resistance of those neurons, those neurons aren't getting the nutrients. And because your insulin is high, it can't even break down the fat cells to get ketones to help give the brain some energy. So your brain is literally struggling, working off of fumes. That's where you get the dementia. That's where you get the Alzheimer's disease, which is type 3 diabetes. We need the nutrients there. And then your migraines come from that crashing of the blood sugar, as well as not having those nutrients in the neurons. On top of anxiety, depression, that definitely is related to this. The other part that I like to talk about is how insulin resistance even affects autoimmune conditions. So with insulin resistance, there's chronic inflammation. And this chronic inflammation causes a lot of trouble. And the insulin resistance, how does it do that? It releases cytokines, interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor. Those things are going to increase inflammation, but that worsens gut dysbiosis. That's the bacteria in our gut. We need that gut biome to be working at its top percentage, okay? Well, it starts being messed up with different types of bacteria there, fungus, things that aren't supposed to be there. And that comes from us eating poorly, not managing our stress well, not getting enough sleep, those types of things, right? But that chronic inflammation also messes up the T cell function. So T cells are there to tell our body what not to attack. And so when you start messing that up, your body starts attacking things it's not supposed to. Your lungs, okay, that's interstitial lung disease. Your bones, rheumatoid arthritis. Your intestines, that's ulcerative colitis, inflammatory bowel disease. Your brain, that's multiple sclerosis. Your thyroid, that's Hashimoto's, okay? And then you have the leaky gut problem. So your gut becomes permeable, meaning things start seeping out. That causes all that gunk to go out into your abdominal cavity, go around organs, and causes inflammation. But what it also does, it signals your body to attack those things. And since your body's all screwed up with understanding what to attack, it attacks you even more, okay? So I like to say there's 5 things you can do immediately. 1, doing your low glycemic index diets. Prioritize your protein, but try to do more of your low glycemic index carbohydrates, okay? And I'm sure Kristen's going to go into that a little bit because the University of Sydney has a glycemic database that actually helps us figure out what's low glycemic, what's high glycemic index. Then the other one is no processed carbohydrates, no processed foods. Nobody needs to eat those. They're not our friend. Exercise, doing resistance training, and increasing the fiber. There's great study on how we need the fiber. I just told you about our gut, how it plays a role with all that inflammation problems, right? And then time-based eating and intermittent fasting. So these processed foods, like I said, don't need to eat them. The modern day food environment has us doing these packaged, boxed, and barcoded foods, right? And they have all these colors and sugars and dyes in them. They're not helping us. They're not serving us. They're addictive. I mean, here's a little picture of 8 signs that your body's addicted to sugar. Okay. And I'm sure if you figure out that you fall on that list, then you understand what I'm talking about. And your brain is just in love with these sugars. It kicks up our dopamine response. We want more and more, feel like, once you pop, you can't stop and we can't eat just one. It's not just you and your inability to say no. Some of this is because of the insulin resistance and the dopamine effect that sugar's having on you. And so, yes, if you feel like that stuff is calling your name, you're not weak, but you may need a little help with turning off that food noise, though. Now, our carbohydrates, I don't like to villainize any macronutrient, but the problem with our carbohydrates is that our carbs is that they don't have the fiber in there like they're supposed to. The fiber's been stripped. And so we don't get the protective benefit that the fiber is supposed to give us. Okay. That fiber dampens the glucose that gets into your blood sugar, meaning less gets into your blood. And so you don't have as much blood sugar because of it. And as well as covering our cholesterol. And so we need the fiber for that dampening effect to help with digestion, help us feel full longer, and it'll allow us to not make as much insulin. But you know what else? Those phytonutrients, those polyphenols that are in those different colors of these fruits and vegetables, what they do is they help our body fight off inflammation. And we see how inflammation is an issue with insulin resistance, right? So that's what we need. And it helps with insulin sensitivity so our cells can get that back. And then fasting, of course. So I say fasting, and I know people run away from this because they're like, I can't stop eating, because when you have insulin resistance, it is hard to say no. It is hard to extend that fasting period, but there's so many benefits to it. Lowering inflammation, burning fat, helps with detox. And then when you tap into that 16, 17 hours to 72 hours of autophagy, this is a real thing, people. You get all types of things: cellular repair, improves cognitive function. I mean, clears infections, pathogens, viruses, so many things, reboots gut health. Okay. Now, what can we do naturally to help? Well, we have a hormone that's supposed to help. But unfortunately, if you're somebody who's overweight or have a good bit of these conditions and insulin resistance, you aren't making as much GLP-1 as you used to. And so you need a boost of your GLP-1. But this GLP-1 hormone is a hormone our body makes. And what it does is it delays gastric emptying, and it actually activates satiety centers, making you feel full longer. Okay. And Big Pharma figured this out, and they made this drug to be able to help diabetics, and it just binds to a receptor to pretend like it's your GLP-1, but it doesn't boost your own GLP-1, and that would be Ozempic, Wegovy, and Rybelsus is a oral formulation of that. And with one out of 8 people, now on these GLP-1s, what we're seeing is we're seeing so many people taking this, but at what cost? You have 40% of the weight loss from lean mass and bone mass, and you have all these other complications: thyroid cancer, pancreatitis, gastroparesis, gut perforation, holes in your guts. And we already saw what leaky gut does for us. So we definitely don't want a hole in our gut, right? And then when you're trying to come off with these drugs, because a lot of people stop them abruptly because of the side effects, they have quick regain of their weight. And when they do, it's a lot more fat because they can't get that muscle back. That's being stopped. Myostatin release is causing muscle growth to be inhibited. Okay. And then after 2 years, what we needed to do is turn off the food noise, stops working as well. And I saw this in practice to where people needed more medications, higher dosages, and it just became a bad circle. So what is the natural solution? Well, the strong polyphenol that's in the yerba mate tea that we like to drink is chlorogenic acid. And it does a lot of things by this picture here, reducing glucose absorption in the gut. I mean, it activates AMPK. It helps with energy. I mean, it decreases your gluconeogenesis by your liver, and it increases GLP-1, people. Okay, that's huge. And on top of that, with the fiber blend, with the short chain fatty acids and the soluble fiber, it helps our microbiome. And we talked about that, how that is so important. The leakiness, the perforation, those things cause so much trouble. We need our gut microbiome with those trillions of bacteria to be working at its top function, okay? And the reality is insulin resistance is not genetic. It's 100% lifestyle. What's great is that I get to talk about this every day, feeling like a superhero, empowering people to be superheroes of their own health. This is me. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And I think that ends it for today. For me anyway, Kristen.
Well, that was a lot of great information. And I just love the way you break it down with all of the slides and everything. And it just gives you the visual. I think, a lot of people feel as though it's something that they just have to live with.
Right.
And in you explaining that, all of those things, like, people will say it's genetic. It might be genetic, but it's not genetic the way you think. It's genetic because it's the atmosphere you've grown up in. It's the food that you've been given as a child and grown up with and eaten. It's the bad habits that we've created along the way. But all of that, by them giving us that handful of pills, like a lot of times in my live, I'll say, I bet you didn't realize that when you were handing in your prescription that it was actually a subscription.
Right.
You can cancel that subscription. You can walk away from that because you don't have to be weighed down by all of the pills. And, we're never going to say, come off your meds. You always talk to your doctor. But can I tell you some of the best conversations I ever had was when my doctor said, I guess it looks like you don't need to take this anymore.
Right.
So absolutely. Right. So thanks so much for sharing all of that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I added some more stuff in there. So that's kind of why I was like speed demon, because I didn't want to hold this up. Plus, I heard that Sherry was ready, and I am so excited about Sherry and her daughter coming on here. So happy you made it on here, Sherry.
Yes, me too.
So Sherry is the one somebody I've come to just enjoy talking to and have fun with, and somebody who's already had troubles on her own with dealing with diabetes. But one thing about when we start getting these products, we love these products, and we're like shouting from the rooftops, and we got to incorporate everybody in our life. Like, you got to try this. You got to try this. We're like Oprah. Everybody gets a tea. Okay. So when you have somebody in your home, you have your daughter, and she can benefit from something like this: pre-diabetes, high cholesterol, struggling with her weight, it becomes a no-brainer. So I know, Sherry, you share with me a little bit about, what led you to want to homeschool Emily, and what made you decide, I'm trying to go all out for my child to help her with her health goals.
Yeah, well, it started out, I didn't even think about homeschooling until COVID happened. But prior to the COVID happening, she went to a very great school. Not a lot of students, 19 students per class, per teacher. And she was getting bullied. And it didn't bother my daughter, but it really bothered me. And so I was like, golly, I wish there was something that I could do to help her lose weight. We've tried eating healthy. I cook healthy all the time. That's what I do because I'm diabetic. But we've done that. I mean, I've always went out above and beyond to try and make her dress better than everybody else. You know, she wore the boutique clothes and I want her to be better than everybody else. So at least that would maybe deter a little bit of this stuff, but it still happened and it still hurt my feelings. But she didn't even bother my daughter, but it bothered me because you see a lot of stuff on the news where now kids are using weapons and they're hurting people and they're going back to school and just all these school shootings and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that kid was bullied and he had enough, you know, and I didn't want that to ever be my child. Never. And so we've done all kind of things and I stumbled across this. I didn't stumble across this for my daughter. I didn't stumble across it for my husband, my children, my mother. I stumbled across it for me because I'm a diabetic and I've been type 2 diabetic for years. I was on my second diabetes medication, and the Ribelsis that they prescribed just made me sick. And I was like, oh, now they want to give me something else. So I ran across it for myself. And then I tried it. Well, my husband, he tried it with me because I was chicken to try it. I'm a really big skeptic. He says, come on, I'll help you. We'll do it together. So we started doing it together. And then my daughter, she was on Wegovy, sick, had to get off of it. And after about a week, I was like, I'm going to give this to my daughter. This is all natural products. It's all natural, vitamins, fiber. Wegovy is just a bunch of chemicals. If they're willing to give her Wegovy, what's the harm in Unimate? So I ordered 3 more kits. I put my daughter and my son on it. And that was it.
That was it. So I get it. I mean, as a mom, there's certain things that bring out the mama bear in me. I get that. Mm-hmm. And so Emily, get ready. Be on the screen, lady. I'm so proud of this young lady. She's the one that said, I want to do this. And so when you're a mom and you have kids, you know how important it is. When your kids speak up and they say they want to do something, you let them do it because you may not get the chance for them to do that again. So Emily, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about how you felt on these other things you were trying. These other things that you were doing, what did they do for you?
Well, I feel there's been a bunch of things that I've tried. The Wegovy, that was horrible. That just made me feel as sick as ever. I don't want to ever go on back on that. I've tried Nutrisystem before and that worked, but I didn't eat half of it and it's too expensive. So that was just a waste. And, I've also just tried doing a diet the normal way. That also didn't work. And those are all the things I've tried. So.
Right. And even though your doctor thought it was okay for you to have Wegovy because it's been approved for kids, you had some of the symptoms I was talking about. The nausea, any abdominal pain, you had some other things?
Yeah, I was throwing up, stuff like that. And it made me feel horrible.
Right. Without much results. So then is it worth it?
Yeah, no, I lost 2 pounds max on it, and that was over a good couple of weeks, and so it just really did not work. It didn't work, and it made me feel horrible on top of that.
Right. Who wants that? Okay.
Yeah. And the 2 pounds she lost was probably from all the nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea.
Probably so. So what do you like about doing the tea and the fiber?
I really like it because it's something easy that you can do. And I like that at dinner time, you get to have, basically whatever you want, I really like that. And it gets me it's where I can have the stuff I want, but I'm still losing weight.
I bet it's probably nice to not have restrictions with what you can eat. That whole Nutrisystem thing, that's just what you have, while everybody else has something else.
Yeah, and you don't get to pick out the stuff you like, because there were some things I liked in there, but it's just about like half of it. It was disgusting. Half of it was disgusting. I wouldn't eat it, and so it was just so much money per month that it was just a big waste, especially when I wasn't eating half of it.
Yeah, yeah. And then as an adult, so one of the things that Emily has said to me when we talk about this, she's like, I can eat whatever I want and still get results. And so many people do. So many people do. Now, the reality is Emily doesn't eat fully whatever she wants because her mom makes these healthier meals. But what she does get to do, she gets to eat with her family and gets to have a dessert with her meal. And she's not going to overdo it because she has the fiber in there that makes her not want to overeat. And so these are some great things, and they're teaching good habits. So you see how important this is to teach our teens so that way they aren't growing up with these issues later. So I love it. The big thing that I wanted to bring you on about was tell me about the shopping spree. I got to hear about the shopping spree.
It was amazing. I've went down like a bunch of clothing sizes ever since I've gotten on this. I used to be only able to shop in the plus size stores because I could only wear a 4 or 5XL. And honestly, it was horrible. Those plus size stores, oh, their clothes are ugly. I'm not gonna lie, they're ugly. And they're either something plain or with the ugliest pattern, and I hate it. And so it's finally good to be able to like go just into a regular store and just buy whatever I want. If they have my size, not sold out, obviously, but it's good to finally be able to do that because as I said, I used to be up to 5XL, but now I'm down just to an extra, extra large, or sometimes even an extra large.
Yes,
it just
that
depends
is-
on the brand, obviously, but it's so nice to just be able to go walk into a normal store and just be able to buy whatever I want. And not
Yes.
have to worry, oh, do they have plus sizes? I don't have to worry about that anymore because I used to go into the stores and I'll be like, oh, I really like this, just to find out they don't have my size, And so it's good to finally be able to have that.
Yes. And you probably don't see all this, but everybody's like, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. This is awesome stuff. And not only that, her birthday's about to come up too. So she had this shopping spree. She's about to have this. She already had this great party. And
And
it
I
is
bought
just
more.
wonderful. And she
And
bought
I
more
bought
stuff. I love it. I just love how happy you are. I love that you're sharing this. So many teens are out there struggling and they're getting these shots from their provider. I mean, they're getting them and they're going through misery with taking them and they don't know there's another option. So you sit there showing, look, I'm doing this. I'm happy. I have my shopping sprees. This is something you might want to try. So thank you so much. And thank you, Sherry, for letting her come on and share her story.
I want everybody to know about it because it is absolutely a godsend to me and my family. I've told majority of my family about it. I still have to tell the rest, but when something works, you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it. I mean, and I want to tell you, my husband, because when I haven't spoke to you, my husband, he has sleep apnea on a CPAP machine. And for the last 2 years, his lab work has come back horrible. And they sent him to an oncologist because his lab work was so bad, they thought he had cancer. Well, he went to the cancer doctor and the oncologist said, you don't have cancer, knock on wood, thank you, Jesus. He has sleep apnea. He's been on this program. We started May 3rd. His lab work, all in the green.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
That's amazing.
You messed that up because he's supposed to be my next guest. But that's okay. They'll forget by then. They'll forget. Yes, I love that. Oh, this is so great. The whole family. Look at that. Daughter, wife, husband. I love it. I'm so excited for you. Got so much love. Congratulations. This is awesome. Oh, I appreciate you guys so much.
Gone too?
His snoring, yeah, he fell asleep on the couch the other day, and normally he snores. But we'll leave that to next week.
Thank you. Don't let the cat out the bag. Well, Thank you so much. And we'll try to bring you guys back to be able to answer any questions and leave your parting words, Emily, because you have an important story. And I love that you shared it with us tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh my goodness. Well, Kristen, we are having a good time tonight.
Absolutely. What an inspiration. And it's one thing when you find the system and you do it yourself and you see success. But when you start to see success throughout your whole family, there's nothing better. And it actually helps. I felt my husband and I started it together. I feel like it helped to keep us accountable to each other and keep us on the track of success.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to let him down. He didn't want to let me down. But Emily, that was such an inspiration, and you really should be so proud of yourself, because a lot of people wouldn't even come on and talk about it. But you need to tell everyone, because you are a walking testimony of what this product does. And so I know Dr. Tiff had mentioned, that there is the tea, there is the fiber, there is the piece of the intermittent fasting. And so the way the system works, but actually before I start explaining that, if you have been invited and you are interested in getting more information, make sure that you get with the person that invited you to this call tonight, to this live stream tonight. They can give you all the information. We'll go over it quick, but if you want to delve in a little bit more, they can send you the link. You can read more about the information about the products. But ultimately, it's a 3-step protocol that we follow. We incorporate the intermittent fasting. And if people don't understand the benefits of intermittent fasting, like Dr. Tiff said, just reaching the autophagy phase of intermittent fasting of the 18 to 20 hours, our bodies were designed to self-heal, regenerate cells, offer us healing that, unfortunately, we're kind of masking the ability to be able to achieve that on our own with a lot of the medications that we're being given. Talking about the tea. If you are someone that has never heard about yerba mate tea, the yerba mate tea that we have through the system actually goes through a 5-step process. So you are never going to get a better yerba mate concentrate. It's handpicked, it's fire roasted. It then goes through an active biological molecule extraction. Then it goes through a yerba mate concentration and a purification. It is like liquid gold. It is the purest form of yerba mate that you will ever get. The benefits are far-reaching. So you've got, it's rich in antioxidants and nutrients. It will help to improve your energy, your mental focus, and your mood. It will help to enhance physical performance. It will decrease your risk of infection. It will help to lower that stubborn midsection that you might be dealing with. It will help to lower your blood sugar levels. It will decrease your risk of heart disease. It will decrease your inflammation, curb your sugar cravings. And as she was saying, it increases the natural production of our GLP-1, the hormone that we all have, by 70%. And so if you think that, going to the convenience store and grabbing a can that says yerba mate on it, if you think that you're going to get the same benefit there as this, you're not. Because this is ultra refined, it's ultra processed, it's ultra purified. And so you're not going to get a better option. So what we do is we drink a tea in the morning in a fasted state. That's actually what increases the natural production of the GLP-1 by 70% when you're drinking the tea in a fasted state. And I want to remind everyone, this actually isn't even a weight loss system. It's a system to help you become metabolically healthy. When you become metabolically healthy, the rest of your body just kind of falls in line. It follows suit. So then you sip on it all morning long. You come to noontime, 1 o'clock, you've probably reached, most people follow a 16-hour fasting schedule with an 8-hour window of eating. But I'm always quick to remind people, an 8-hour window of eating doesn't mean that you consistently eat for the full 8 hours. You have a good lunch, you have a good dinner, no snacking in between. If you want to close that window up, push yourself to fast a little bit longer. This is going to help you increase your fasting hours. When I have my lunch, it's usually a very high protein, high fat, low to no carb meal. So Then I make another tea, sip on that through the afternoon. You're also going to want to incorporate some water. I've learned, and Dr. Tiff, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I've learned that if you take your weight and cut it in half, you're supposed to be drinking half of what you weigh in ounces of water. Am I right?
Yep.
And so that's what you do. And then come dinner. And we talked about the fiber, and Dr. Tiff talked about how fiber is literally being stripped out of our foods. And we are not getting the benefits. And we get a lot of benefits from fiber. And so this right here, this packet, and when you mix it up in about 6 to 8 ounces of water, it's going to get really thick. You're going to drink it down, kind of like a shot. And it's going to coat your stomach. It's going to get thick. It's going to actually expand in your stomach, so it gives you that full feeling. It lowers your blood sugar levels. It lowers your blood cholesterol levels. It slows down the absorption of any carbs and sugars that you might be taking in. Like Emily was saying, it's offering her food freedom. She's able to eat without worrying about the calories in, calories out. We don't worry about calories in, calories out. We make sure that we're front loading our food with fiber. It's giving us the extra barrier that we need in our stomach so that when we eat, we're able to digest properly. We're able to push that plate away sooner because we are fuller longer. And so, I've learned that there was a study actually done where it compared the balance to Metamucil. And ultimately, Metamucil, if you just want your plumbing humming and keeping it going, you're good to go. You can go ahead and keep that, but keep taking that. But if you want something that is actually going to offer you metabolic health, improving your blood sugars, improving your cholesterol, then this is the route you want to go. So like I said, now for those of you that aren't aware, this company actually it was actually the first of this year, was able to open it up to where you can actually utilize your HSA and your FSA card. So if you have a flexible spending account or a health savings account through your employer, you can utilize that. You might not be able to purchase a subscription, but you absolutely can purchase on a monthly basis. And I know a big question for a lot of people is, okay, well, how much is it? My question to when I do a live, my question is always this: how much money are you spending at the drive-thru every morning? How much money are you allowing yourself to spend on your sweet treat and your coffee every morning? Because for me, it was between $8 and $10 every day. I'm actually saving money because this system right here, the 2 teas and the fiber, cost $5.60 a day. And so it's funny because I used to argue with myself all the time and say, well, I'm worth the $8 a day because I work. I should be able to have a coffee and a little sweet treat every day. That I work. Even if money was tight, that's what I would say. Well, how many of you here feel that same way? And so if you transition this, not only will you be treating yourself, you will be improving your health in so many ways, mind, body, even spirit, because I'm telling you, when you start to feel better, you feel better from head to toe.
Yes. I mean, all our guests have been smiling. I mean, we had a teen smiling. How often does that happen? I mean, I have teenagers. They barely want to be on the screen, let alone smiling at everybody. That's what happens when you start correcting things from the inside out. So
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome,
so did we want to ask them to come back? Does anybody have any questions, or is there anything else that we should be reviewing?
I think you hit it. Well, okay. So when we do start the products, we wake up in the morning. Most of us skip breakfast because it's easier to skip breakfast than skip dinner. Skipping dinner, you look like a weirdo. So you'll skip breakfast, most of us, and you'll sip on your tea for 3 to 4 hours. I drink mine cold. Jim likes his hot. I don't know how you like yours, Kristen.
Mine's cold.
You'll do it for 3 to 4 hours. After lunch, you'll repeat that process. And then with your carb heaviest meal, you do the balance part of that fiber blend to decrease the amount of carbohydrates that get in your bloodstream. It's really that simple. Really that simple.
Absolutely. So, Oh, Blenda, thank you so much. So does anybody have any questions? I actually want to say this, though. Emily, I know I keep going back to you, but I am just so impressed with the fact that you were even willing to try this. Because I've talked to, when you talk to teenagers, it's always, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. And maybe because you had tried other things, it maybe pushed you to be a little more proactive in thinking that you wanted to try it. But I'm just impressed with the fact that you absolutely were on board and you tried it, and the success that you've had, it's literally setting you up for the rest of your life. And I'm just so excited for you. It says here that do you take the fiber if you only have vegetables and protein?
So
you take the fiber, yes. Right?
100%. Yeah, I mean, the whole point, and in my presentation, you might have missed it, is we're trying to rebuild that gut microbiome, all the bacteria in the gut. And so that fiber actually helps us feed those bacteria so that they behave appropriately. So 100%. But if you have more carbohydrates, that is the meal you want to use it, but you at least need to be using it once a day, regardless what you're eating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Any other questions? I know, it's funny because I could probably ask 1,000 questions. I just love all the information. Like Dr. Tiff is just such a wealth of knowledge, and some people can explain it and you kind of like, boom, it goes right over your head. But every time that you explain it, Dr. Tiff, it's just retainable, it's understandable. And so thank you for just always being so gracious with the way you explain it to all of us, really.
Oh, you're welcome. That's the point. And so people understand. That's the whole point of this. Because if people don't understand what they're doing, they won't continue doing it. Because the power is in the consistency, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you, Kristen. Well, I think we did pretty good, Kristen. We didn't run over the time or anything. Well, I don't see any more questions over there. Any more questions, people? Because we can talk about this forever. Like Captain America, I can go all day.
Right?
Me too.
Yes, Sherry can.
Oh yeah, she could. She could talk about it for hours and hours nonstop.
Yes. Well, I mean, in the interest of everyone's time, I guess it might be good to get people to say their things. Like Emily, if you're looking at people your age, or even people your age as parents, what would you tell them? What would you tell them to make them even look at this? What would be something you want to share with them?
I guess I would just tell them how much success I've had with it. I mean, I've gone down a good amount of sizes. I can fit in normal clothes. I've lost about 20 pounds so far, and I get to eat whatever I want at dinner. So,
And she's not hungry throughout the day, and she doesn't have cravings. Because I'll tell you a little secret. Whenever she was doing all these other programs, the Wegovy, the Nutrisystem, and all that, my pantry was cleaned out. New, good, healthy stuff was bought, but you still have your basic sugar, brown sugar, powdered sugar, all your baking stuff. Mm-hmm. She would go and make her own cake out of flour. She would make her own icing out of powdered sugar. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I have to make this.
I didn't say that.
Well, she didn't say she had to make it, but she wanted it. She was having the craving for that sugar.
Yeah.
Are you having the cravings now?
Well, at dinner, yeah, because I know I'm about to have some.
But there's a difference between you're going to have it and a craving. A craving is like, it's like, oh, I want this.
It's like a lack of control. It sounds like you've gotten control back. Would that be fair to say, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, you don't have the cravings. I mean, I don't even think about eating half the day. Sometimes today I fasted. It was 20 hours. I fasted for 20 hours. I was like, oh, let me get a little protein shake,
Yes.
Before dinner. And so I drank a protein shake, but it's like I tell my family, getting to that autophagy is the key. And you cannot do intermittent fasting without this program.
Right.
You can, but it's going to be short-lived.
Yeah, you can, but it's not going to be, as easy.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, you have some people. So it's about meeting people where they are. But, just like everything, you can move like a snail or move like a cheetah. So that's why we meet people where they are and we advance them to where they want to go. And it's just so awesome that you're able to do this, Emily. And so that's the point. Any young people, look at Emily. She's doing it.
And if she can do it, anybody can do it. It is easy, isn't it?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It is super easy.
Great. Now, Kendra, do you have any parting words to say? Okay.
I would say if anybody is on the fence, you really honestly have nothing to lose but to feel better. And I haven't felt this good since I was 30 and I'm 53. Yeah.
That's enough for me. Sign me up right there.
So there is a question someone had mentioned. My brother asked if there's such a thing as too much tea because he enjoys it so much.
No.
I have not seen anything that says that there is. And so I've had 3, 4 of these, depending on what I'm doing. And so I have not seen that, but I will look into the science just to make sure. Nope. Don't see it. Don't see it. Well, I appreciate you both. You guys have been awesome. One of the things we wanted to talk about is how July 10th, Jim has roped me into being in Fort Lauderdale at an event. So if any of you on the call tonight are going to be in the area, you do not want to miss meeting myself and Jim Grasser, the Healthy Pitmaster, in person, and make it worth my time of coming out there. I did this for Jim, but I would love to meet you all in person too. So if you know somebody in the area, invite them out and even reach back to me or any one of us, Kristen or Jim, because we can get you the flyer for that event too. All right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sounds
Well,
good.
thanks,
So
ladies. Kristen, what's your parting words?
my parting words are, I actually enjoyed this more than I thought I would. But ultimately, there's a 90-day money back guarantee. You literally have nothing to lose. If you're on the fence and you're really not sure, try it for the 90 days. Consistency is key, but 90 days will give you a good picture of what your health could be as opposed to what it is now. Yes. And if you're not happy with your results, just get your money back. It's that simple.
Yes, I love it. Well, so my last thing would be what I would say. Oh, somebody says, come to Dallas, Texas, please. Jim, is that for Jim? I think that's for Jim. Not just play it. My last thing would be is that there isn't an age.
Right.
There isn't an age to where you cannot benefit from this if you're dealing with issues. I mean, if you're a teenager dealing with prediabetes, cholesterol, having trouble with your weight loss, you're dealing with insulin resistance. And unfortunately, it's happening to people at a younger age. So it's getting our kids, it's getting our elderly. There's not too many people that can't benefit from making the lifestyle changes. And these tools help us do that. They turn off the noise to where we aren't going into the pantry trying to make our own cakes. Emily's not by herself. I used to try to make my own cakes and make my own chocolate. I would do that all the time. So the reality is too many people can benefit. So just ask anybody and you'll find out so many people are starving and looking for an answer. And the great thing is we have something that's helping so many. I love this. So excited we get to do this every week. So happy I got to have you, Kristen. You were awesome.
Thank you so much.
You were awesome. Thank you all so much for joining in the call.
You guys have a great 4th of July. Remember your fiber.
Yeah, remember your fiber. All right.
Have a good night.